Hello, I am Prashant Kothari, President of Skillbench and founder of Internal Audit Today show. Today, I'm hosting episode 2 of Internal Audit Today, a talk show to benefit internal audit fraternity and beyond. Each month, we invite an internal audit leader or other business leader to learn perspective and experience on the internal audit profession. I'm honored to be here today with Chad Ali-Carr, IT Audit Director at Brookdale Senior Living, the largest senior living service provider in the country. Chad began his career at Protiviti in 2003 and then moved to Rockwell before joining Brookdale. Chad, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Prashant. Glad to be on the show.
So, given the unprecedented situation, Chad, that we are facing, what are some of the things that Brookdale as a company has done and also internal audit at Brookdale has done to adjust working remotely during this difficult time with the COVID-19 pandemic?
We've been really agile on how we've responded. So obviously we have a fragile environment. The folks that we care for really need to be protected from this virus since it has more of an aggressive attack towards senior individuals. Make sure that they have technology that they can use so they can continue to communicate with their families and loved ones, only allowing essential caretakers to have access to them and really restrict that because it is absolutely paramount that we keep their safety first and top of mind. We've been giving all the PPE gear to the folks that need it and really just been working with not only the CDC, but state and local authorities as well and following guidance there. So from a corporate perspective, we've been doing a lot of different things. One, right before this stay-at-home order was given, we had made sure that people were given sanitary wipes, wipe down their desk, make things as sanitary as possible. We had wipe down Wednesdays and things like that. We're also making sure that we're delivering PCs to people who may only had a desktop before that really do need to be more mobile now and work from home. Above and beyond all that, just getting creative with our benefits and making sure people can get paid and extended sick time and leave of absences and things like that, and being creative from that perspective. From an internal audit perspective, I think this has been working out fairly well. I was a little optimistic. How well is really the virtual meetings and things like that really going to be able to be deployed? I'm very impressed on how the technology has been stable. That has been successful in my opinion. We have not started to kick off in closing meetings, more the formal meetings where you really, in my opinion, need that kind of person-to-person contact, especially if you're talking about maybe some high risk issues. That dialogue is, in my opinion, much more important to have and to take place personally. So I'm optimistic that we will get through it, but I'm also just curious to see how those types of meetings are going to play out, along with walkthroughs and in-process demos and things like that. So,
do you feel there is a increased cybersecurity risk as there is a heavy focus on controlling this COVID situation? And the second part of it is, what are your thoughts on how companies or organizations and individuals should respond to this specific risk?
I definitely think that, whenever you have different circumstances where people are maybe focused differently than they would on their normal day-to-day basis, you're going to have an opportunity for attackers to take advantage of that. So yes, they're going to try to exploit all vulnerabilities. They're going to seek out new vulnerabilities. So I think you're going to see an increase, if you haven't already personally. You're going to get some phone scams, right? People calling you, asking for personal information, pretending they're the IRS, indicating that you're late on your taxes once we get to that point. So be aware, be cautious of that. I think you're going to see some phishing campaigns going on, right? And they're going to use this pandemic in this time of uncertainty. That's definitely going to happen. You might have a physical security vulnerability as well, right? We might have people coming door to door now, acting as if they're, people from the utility companies trying to gain access to the house. So we just got to be a little bit more aware, a little bit more cognizant, and pay attention to all those things, and just be a little more leery than you would normally. Not to panic, but just be on guard. From a corporate perspective, make sure that we're helping our workforce. Zoom, right? We all know that Zoom in the news had some security flaws. What can we do? What are some of the top tips? I've seen some things on LinkedIn. Great. People are responding quickly. Let's get out there. Let's secure this platform. Let's make sure we're not talking about confidential information if we don't need to. or let's move to a different platform if that's what the company chooses to do. Just making sure your antivirus software is up to date, making sure you're pushing that out to people who are using their own PCs. Is there anything we can do to make sure auto run is disabled, anything like that? Are there any vulnerabilities or patches? Is there security patches, Windows updates, all that fun stuff? Making sure your databases and applications are patched as well, and just keeping abreast of that. One thing that I think the security departments can do is really look through their security event or security incident event monitoring tools, such as Logarithm, other tools out there. What's going on? What's the pattern? What's the traffic? If you have the time and the bandwidth to do that, this is a great time to pay attention to that.
Securing your router with a more latest standard versus a more older standard to avoid that security attack. Securing the password, not the default, but changing the default password. Connecting to the VPN when you're working from an office, it's a very secure network. But when you're working from home, it takes those extra steps. I think you can that way avoid that you have a lesser chance of getting attacked.
Completely agree. Those are excellent tips, Prashant.
Do you feel, Chad, that there will be long-term impacts as it relates to how we do our work, what we focus on, and other opportunities and challenges from our current experience dealing with this pandemic?
I do. I think that there are still companies out there that really want to see a presence in the office, and they have challenged the work from home request, if you will. I'm a firm believer of coming to the office and working together because I think there's a lot of efficiencies that are gained when we're all in the office together. For example, I can walk down the hall, meet with someone, get a quick question answered. It saves me a lot of time. I think being there is great. Camaraderie is great. You're building those relationships. There's a lot of positives of being face-to-face with people. I've also heard the flip side of that argument saying, I really like to work from home. I like to have the flexibility. I like to be able to go get my kids from school, bring them home. It's short, it's close here. I can do that a lot more effectively if I'm home, as opposed to leaving the office if my commute's 40 minutes, for example. I think companies are going to have to really retool and rethink that ability to allow folks to work from home. I think that you're going to see a lot more attention paid to the business continuity management professionals. I think companies are going to really now want to hone their pandemic planning procedures, plans, etc., and really prepare.
What are the three things internal audit profession needs most? How do you think we can get there?
From my perspective, I think attracting and retaining top talent. We just got to really focus on attracting and retaining and engaging top quality auditors. A stronger integration between the different disciplines within internal audit. You have your financial auditors, you have your IT auditors, and I think internal audit departments, along with external firms, we're still siloed. And we've been talking about this for decades. I mean, it's been a recurring theme of we need to be integrated. We need to work in lockstep with one another, because I feel that way we will provide a much stronger and a higher value for the organization if we do that. Because as we all know, many minds work great together. Let's focus on providing value audits. A lot of us have been immersed with compliance and regulatory work. Great, we have to do it. You learn a lot from it. Thinking outside the box and providing more value-added services and insight for the businesses and providing deeper insight for them to operate more effectively, reduce risk, be agile, be innovative, I think is going to be very important for the internal audit department to focus on.
What advice would you have for a company who has limited resources on doing more value-add audits?
I think from my perspective is first work with the audit committee and see what their appetite's going to be to expand your coverage during those compliance audits, but come up with a way where you can delineate between, hey, we did this for compliance work as it pertains to SOX for financial reporting, but we also covered these other areas while we were in the weeds, so to speak. And we feel that these are other areas of risk that you should consider. Management sometimes gets a little anxious when you bring risks to the table and say, we need to remediate. Let's just bring these risks to the table and say, here are some things that we had discovered through our compliance work. It's a little bit outside of the compliance rule set, if you will, right? The boundaries. Maybe we bring in an external firm to help us out with a deeper dive into some of these areas, making sure management is comfortable that you're going to do that. And then obviously being able to handle it with your own resources to see if you can expand some of that coverage while doing the regulatory work.
Chad, I want to thank you for sharing your words of wisdom today. My biggest takeaway today is the tips you shared about cybersecurity during this time of pandemic and how individuals and companies should respond to it. Friends, if there is a topic or guest you would like to see on Internal Audit Today, leave a comment here or email me at pk@globalskillbench.com. Thank you for watching.